Hi, welcome back to the 180 podcast. This month, our themes are racial and heritage. Sorry, race and heritage. Um, I am your podcast leader, Tanya. We have here,
Daniel.
and Josiah.
and we have a bunch of youth here as well. We're just going to go jump straight into it with our first question. This is actually not one of our scripted questions, but I want to quickly put out what does heritage mean to you?
Heritage is a traditional custom or belief passed down from the generations up to today.
Heritage is where you're from, where your history's from, your culture, your traditions that have been passed down from generations. And it can change over time as people change over time. Yeah.
Heritage is like tradition or morals that you and your family follow, and it represents a part of your country and identity.
So, are there any parts of your heritage that you feel proud of, but you don't get to share that often?
A strong part of my culture that I like to express most is the traditional dances that we have. Cause I'm Yoruba, so we have a lot of dances that I don't really able to show in modern days.
Um, Something that we have, but I don't know if it's actual heritage, but it's land being passed down from generations to generations, and I'd say it has changed over time because a long time ago it was just men. Men were the only ones who were supposed to own land, but over time, women are now allowed to own land, and it's being passed down. Yeah, so I'm also expecting land soon.
Ooh. So, what do you wish people understood better about your race or culture?
Our language,
Okay.
because people use it in the wrong ways and thinks it's cool.
Could you tell us where you're from?
Could you first tell us where you're from and then elaborate on that?
Jamaica, like people like use certain words from patois like in the wrong way in such a confident style.
I agree.
Um, so they kind of take like our tradition and our like the way we speak in a certain way that kind of like generalizes us like too much. Cause how I speak is different from how another person speaks in my country. So they kind of generalize us the way we speak.
That's very deep. I guess for me personally, one of the ways I think that one of the things I wish that people understood better about my culture is like our idea of carnival. Sorry, carnival. We live here in Toronto, and they do the Caribana each year, and for them, it's more of a walk up and get on bad. But for in our culture back home as West Indians, it's more of a signifying that the a year of hard work has passed, and it's now time to celebrate. For them, it's just a time to dress up and wear nice clothes and go out and act a fool on the streets. But for us, it's rooted in our history as slaves and our break away from slavery and our walk to independence, having stuff that's our own and being able to come home at the end of the crop season and say this is ours. So actually in Barbados we don't call it carnival. We're the only Caribbean country that call it crop over, which literally means it's the end of the crop season. We're bringing in the harvest and we're celebrating the harvest we've collected. So I wish that people understood that a bit more.
Awesome. So, actually, that brings, I have a little history of that, but that's going into our next question. And the next question was that what is one small win that you've seen lately that gives you hope for racial justice? Right? And I'll just share a little bit of my side of the story that's a little bit similar, just a little. So, we have, in our culture and heritage, we have a celebration called Lunar New Year, but a lot of people know it as Chinese New Year traditionally, right? But over the time, it started getting the phrase Lunar New Year more often, which is a win for me because Chinese New Year is not the name that we gave it, nor is it the name. It gives the impression that only Chinese people celebrate this holiday, right? And I find that because there's so many different cultures that celebrate that holiday, that is a win in that we're acknowledging that it's more than just one country. So that's a small win for racial justice for me. Yep.
So for me, I'm black. So what was the question again?
What is one small win that you've seen for racial justice?
All right. So a small one I've seen for black people is the quarter zip movement. Seeing all the YNs, all the hoodlums become performative young men who love matcha. So yeah, that's one win.
Anyone else?
I think if I'm looking at this question on the inverse, I would say one big loss uh for me as a West Indian is the way the US kind of kidnapped one of our brethren. Um we in the Caribbean, we are deep set in history, and we are interconnected in our struggle for equality, whether it's climate change, whether it's respect on a global platform, whether it is funding for under-resourced countries. We are interlocked into a marriage of sorts, all of us Caribbean countries. So the US using their power as a means to dictate who could run and govern a country, whether the person is doing it correctly or not. I think that's one big loss for me as a West Indian.
One thing that I found like as a win for my country, because I'm Nigerian, right, is that most people has like started getting into like our food, and like they have started going to like most like our places that we eat, like fried rice. Like people like gone into the food we eat and accepted it more.
Awesome. So, our next question is: does the concept of race feel like a cage to you, or does it feel like a foundation?
I want to say that's a very profound and multifaceted question. I think I'm a student of literature, so I'm being taught that race is a social construct, but I am also black, so I've seen how even though race is a social construct, it's become a weapon. So I forgot the question. Just I forgot the question in the explanation. Could you
So, the
repeat the question?
question was: does the concept of race feel like a cage to you, or does it feel like a foundation?
Yeah, for me it feels, I don't know. Could it be a foundation? Could it be the foundation and the cage? Could it be a way for me to kind of envision the world around me, but also a box that keeps me from actually interacting with it? I think for me that would be my answer. It's the I guess race would be the standard to which I compare everyone else, but it will also be the thing that keeps me captive from actually expressing who I am beyond race.
For me, race is kind of like a cage and a foundation, cause basically I get like judged just for being black. I might not even do anything, but I might just get judged if I'm just in a certain situation, and it's also a foundation, cause like I've met a lot of people and been in situations that black people of my own race have helped me. So it's kind of a race, it's kind of a cage and a foundation for me.
For me, it's a cage growing into it's a cage growing into a foundation. Like then it was a cage. Like not being accepted because of where you're from or your background or how you looked. Then now people are just accepting you more and more. So then it was a cage. Now it's growing to a foundation.
How is it a foundation for you at this point?
Being accepted.
Okay, let's jump into the next question. What's something you do or believe that goes against what people expect?
This is the biggest thing. I believe that black people are some of the most racist people on the planet Earth, but a lot of black people tend to disagree with me.
I agree.
So I think, yeah, that is one thing for sure.
What was the question?
Okay, so let's jump to this next one. Do you feel like people see you for who you really are? Why or why not?
Um, for me, I don't think people see me for who I truly are, because I'm mostly judged just my bad. That's what I'm because most of the time I'm merely judged on just how I look and the skin color I am, because maybe because of other people's behavior, and they think like I'm the same as every other person. I don't have my own personality, man. I'm not my own person.
Yep. So, do you feel like people see you for who you really are? Why or why not?
Um, I think that's kind of a situational question. Sometimes people see like let's use the fact like right now I'm a youth worker in a shelter. People see me and they're like, oh, he's this entitled black guy that made it out, and now he's trying to be the savior. He has a savior complex. And then white people would see me as, oh, look at this guy that was in their situation, now he's trying to help. So I think sometimes it could be like that, or some of the kids that I work with, they're like, yo, we see that you've been through this, and they kind of take my advice a little more. They kind of want a deeper look at to look into how I was able to do what I did and that kind of stuff. So I think sometimes it could be used as a sometimes it could be used, I guess, as a negative, and then sometimes a positive. Sometimes they see me for me, and not just my circumstance. Like the kids, they want to see me like, okay, how did you get out? And they're like looking for advice and trying to see the person behind the circumstance. And then some other people look from the outside and like, oh, he has a savior complex. He's just trying to be basically the next Martin Luther King or something, you know?
Do you feel like people see you for who you really are? Why or why not?
No. Um, because people see what they want to see. You're like people can be ignorant at times and just judge based on your background or what they've heard, not what they need to know or what really happened. So I would say yes, no.
So, this next question, in what ways do you find yourself code switching, and what does this mean to you? And before we continue on, does everyone know what code switching means?
Yes.
Do you know what? Google it.
Okay, so code switching is right now I'm speaking like very fluent, very clear English, right? But I can go like, hello, uh, this, uh, it's hard to do it
I'll
without,
give you guys I'll give you guys a better, more practical representation. So I'm Barbadian. Me speaking like this is me code switching so you guys can understand me.
yeah.
If I go like, what's going on? Honestly and truly, let me just get to the point of the matter. I'm going back to my native tongue and speaking in a way that only Barbadians of heritage from Barbados would understand. Code switching is speaking in a way or encoding your language so that it caters to a specific audience. And that's what I'm doing. I'm speaking the best level of English I can speak so you guys can understand at the best rate you can understand.
That's me.
Just to add on, it's also not just about how you talk, but also how you act, clothes that you wear, just kind of how you're presenting yourself fully to different groups of people. Thank you.
Oh, period.
So could we repeat the question?
In what ways do you find yourself code switching, and what does it mean to you?
Um, for me, okay, I found myself code switching when I moved here, I'd say. But this wasn't my first school. My first school was in the West and it was predominantly black. So I didn't find a need to code switch. So it was okay for me to speak in my normal Kenyan accent. But when I moved to Mac, it's predominantly white. I found myself having to code switch, and the reason is to just accommodate the people, and it's not because I want to. Like they could accommodate me, but since it's a new country and it's because I have to, so I code switch to accommodate people in a new country. Yeah.
I code switch when I'm with non-Nigerians, so they can have a better understanding of how I approach them. I can decide to, I can speak in many ways that only Nigerians can understand, and non-Nigerians cannot understand. So it's practically different, different kind of cultures.
Yeah, if I could just add on to what Abby was saying, yeah, code switching is normally not for, it's not really for the person code switching, but it's for the person listening. Because I found that when I first came, first of all, I studied communication back home. I did a little course on communication before I came, so I understood code switching even before I came to Canada. I was going into a field in communication entrepreneurship and tourism. So I was actually studying how communication works and why I should code switch, that kind of stuff. And I found when I came here, I was trying my hardest to maintain that part of my accent that kind of really defined who I was, that kind of humor that lies behind the Barbadian accent. And I found that I was repeating myself 10 to 15 times more per sentence than I really needed to. And people, they would just, instead of asking me to like explain what I'm saying, they would laugh and pretend they understood what I was saying. And it kind of created its own barrier. So I found myself having to code switch in order to be understood and be taken serious. So yeah, just to tie into what Abby was saying, it's not really for us, but it's for the persons listening. It's us trying to make them, I guess, feel more comfortable and more, I guess, easy to communicate with.
I have a somewhat similar experience, but in an opposite vein. So, my parents are Vietnamese and they have a hard time learning English, but I can speak English quite fluently, yeah? Um, I find that I started to code switch to a more broken kind of English to help them learn English more, but it has a mix of Vietnamese words, which is how I connected with them growing up because I didn't get to learn too much Vietnamese, but I also wanted to help them learn English. Do you feel like your generation talks about race differently from your parents' generation? If so, what is the biggest change?
I feel our generation weaponizes race. For us, race is a movement. If you do something that goes against our belief or our ideas or our idealism, it is racist, and we go and we rally the troops. Our parents were coming off of the enslaved kind of grandma kind of staying humble and trying to stick to the ground and keeping your head down just to be safe and to be secure. Parents were our parents were in that era where it was just stay to yourself, stick to the ground, keep your head down. But now we, that- 50, 60 years ago. Yeah, that was that generation. No, my mom was 50. Okay, well, okay, the older ones of us, our parents were in that generation. We now everything is a movement. Someone says something we don't like, we record them, put them on TikTok, and we add this racist Karen, and then we get a Me Too movement started.
Yeah, I agree with that. Especially since whenever my parents come across something that is a problem, their response has always been, okay, let's just keep our heads down. Let's just let the other person like deal with it. We don't want to cause any trouble. We don't want to be the person who is the troublemaker, right? But for us, it's like if it's a trouble on race, we'll just put it onto social media and like blast it, right? Ooh.
My parents are very calm when it comes to racist or race in general. For us, it's like a conflict that we have to do every time. Yeah.
My parents' generation is about if like learning how to ignore and also like trying to go the path you want to go. And my generation is about fighting if something happens to you and trying to and fighting makes you trying to be the bigger person in the I don't know.
Yeah, I think I understand what you're saying. You're saying your parents were all about kind of peace, taking all the slack, not really looking for a conflict, and we are like, we need to feel like we're being heard and we're being understood. So you gotta fight back. You gotta fight against the power.
How old are all of your parents? No, I'm just curious.
Your parents are just parents.
Oh my gosh. What what stereotypes about your background do you think are wrong or unfair?
Okay, so I have two. I have they're caricatures. So the buck and the mammy. So the buck, the idea that all black men have to be strong, muscular men that go out and mix concrete and go and earn all the money and come back home and abuse their wives, while the wives have to be at home being homemakers, taking care of the kids, being aggressive black women that don't understand reason, are uneducated. I think those are the biggest, I guess, what was the word we used? The biggest stereotypes that I would those characters fall into the biggest stereotypes that we could even think of. Like black men are some of the most educated men on the earth. Black women are so complex and so diverse. To just put them into one box is doing yourself a disservice.
I have another stereotype. Guys, Nigeria is not the only country in Africa. Let's lock in. Let's lock in. You guys cannot be like African prince and then go Nigerian prince. That pisses me off so bad. Yes. And it's not the only food.
What
And then
stereotypes do you
not the
think
only
are
food in
unfair?
Africa is fufu and igusi and jollof rice. Like, I'm telling you, most countries don't even have all that. Yes. Mandazi. Mandazi is the thing, right? No, that's mahamri. No, that's mandazi. Mandazi, you make it out of, it's like, it's the same thing, but like, it's kind of like
What
brown.
stereotypes do you think are unfair or wrong?
Don't fucking
Yeah, what stereotypes do you think are unfair or wrong?
With race?
Yeah, our culture, our heritage.
What's the question?
What stereotypes do you think are unfair or wrong? Racial. That's a big one. Not Jamaica's not the only country in the Caribbean, and I would argue it's the worst.
It is. Clock it.
Anyways, let's go.
People think it's in Africa.
Ooh.
Africa? No, genuinely.
Yeah, that's
Africans
true,
think
that's true.
Jamaica is in Africa. I thought it was in Africa.
Okay.
Ooh.
Okay. I think that people think just because you're black, you have to like for me, for me, I've been through like people asking me like, "Oh, like are you fast? Like do you want to play basketball?" all of that. Just because I'm black and stuff. But honestly, like I low key like figure skating and it's rare like I don't know, but when I say that, people are always like, but like you're tall and you're like, most black people are always like, basketball. And also for my team, like there's like a lot of like black people and there's only like two like other races. So yeah.
I think going off what Zoe said, sometimes they're not even trying to be racist. They're just looking at the statistics. Like 98% or probably more now of the NBA is full of black people. So sometimes they're not trying to be racist. They're just like going off what they have.
But they just assume because you're black, you want to play basketball.
I
What if
do-
you want to be a figure
I do
skater? You
want to
want to
point-
play rugby or something else?
Even going with what Prince said, they always say, "Oh, black people are criminals." It's not that we are predisposed to being criminals; it's that we are Black people live majority. We are the higher majority of people living in underhoused, underprivileged, under-resourced neighborhoods. So, of course, if you put us in underhoused, under-resourced, underprivileged neighborhoods, you're going to see a lot of crime and stealing and that kind of stuff in that neighborhood. It's not because we're black and we're just thieves and we just want to rob. It's because we're underserved, underprivileged, and under-resourced.
Yeah, even on TikTok, they're always like, guess the race. And what?
Not all black people like fried chicken.
And watermelon.
And watermelon. And spicy food. I don't eat
Can I-
spicy food.
I mean, if you were to look at all the places that serve fried chicken, and you went from Monday to Friday, look at the cameras. Most of the people that went into those stores are probably going to be black.
Yeah, but that's an outlier. There are a lot of black people that don't eat chicken at all. There are a lot of black people that don't eat fried chicken. There are a lot of black people like that's a
Okay. Let me settle this.
I don't know if it's an outlier. Maybe
Let me
it's a
settle
slippery
this.
slope.
Do you like fried chicken? Do you like fried chicken? Yeah. Do you like fried chicken? Do you like fried chicken? Do you like fried chicken?
No.
Fried chicken?
No.
Of course they're gonna say. Do you like fried chicken? You like fried chicken?
I'm a vegetarian.
All right. But I think majority likes fried chicken, so
Fair enough, but it's still a stereotype. Just because I don't think just because you can see that with your eyes, you should generalize it. Like, there's some certain parts in the world that black people don't even eat chicken. There are a lot of black people that live in the rural parts that don't eat pork, they don't eat fried chicken. Some I don't know, like I don't like the idea of them assuming this about me without even knowing me. I think that's it.
Our next question actually links into that. So, have you ever surprised someone by not fitting into a stereotype? How did that feel?
Yeah. So when I first came to Canada, since I'm from Germany, I'm German, and I'm black, right?
You're Kenyan.
And no, I'm not.
You are.
So
Why are you denying it?
so when I came to Canada and I went to a hood school, I went to a hood school and a white school. When I went to the hood school, all the guys said, "Oh, you're so well spoken." Blah blah blah. I didn't expect a black person to speak like you, and I was so shocked. And then the same thing happened when I went to a white school. They were like, "Oh, why are you so well spoken? I heard that black people from that area blah 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 speak like this." So yeah,
Yeah, it's happened to me too. Like, um, I have these I have these friends and they're like black, and they're always like no hate, but like when we're in like science class, they're like really loud and like they're always twerking and stuff. But like I'm like I don't know, I'm kind of
real
quiet
school is that?
and no. Anyways, and my friend, she told me that she's like I'm one of the like good black people and like I'm very like shy and like all of that and I don't know. And she was like praising herself for being ghetto for some reason.
The question was, have you ever surprised someone by not fitting a stereotype, and how did that feel?
Um,
Can I say something? Oh, I'm gonna say that I'm gonna say that if people think just because you're from Africa, you're like I think they think you don't speak, like they don't teach you English, and then when you come here and like when you come here, they're gonna think so when I came here in my country they used to teach me English. Is not and there's some people in my country that don't even speak my language, but they're born there and they're raised there, but they speak English. But when I came here, they expected me to like speak my country accent, and they were surprised that it's kind of the same as here, but the difference is that we're not in the same country. And what I'm trying to say is that just because somebody is from a country that is not really much educated, that does not mean they cannot speak the same English like with people who are actually really educated.
I agree. Like, I'm from the Caribbean. When I first came, people automatically assumed that I had a lesser education level than them. Surprisingly, my country has the highest literacy rate in the Caribbean. So when I was speaking at school and stuff, they're always like, "Oh wow, where'd you grow up? What part of Canada?" I'm like, "I'm actually from the Caribbean." So they're expecting the moment if I ever introduced myself as being Barbadian first, they would assume I was dumb, uneducated, or I didn't know what I was talking about. If I started speaking first before I introduced myself, they would assume I was Canadian.
I have one. For me, one a very common stereotype: Asians are good at math. Oh, but
It's a 6-7.
uh, the 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 reason that stereotype came about was because the need for education and that barrier is so high in those countries, and that was the only concept to get a good future. Right, the future was all based on if you had a good education to get a good job. There was no other path, so you had to have high grades. But like, math is not my strong suit.
And actually, and actually, uh, and actually, the countries that people expect to have less education, if you come like if where I came from in my country when I came here, the things they were learning right now is the things I learned already. And when they came here, they was like the way they were saying it, they're like, oh, they expect me to know nothing, but like there are things that are, like they're learning right now. I learned them like 2 years ago or something. So they think just because their country is more developed and your country is less developed, they're gonna think you're gonna be learning. They're gonna think you're gonna, oh Lord, they're gonna think you're gonna have, stop looking at me, you're not even saying anything. They're gonna they're gonna think you're gonna have a less. You're so messy. Look at this like 5 minutes.
Okay.
Desire, you're not. You're saying something. I'm not gonna say anything.
Anyways, just finish it so we can cut it.
they're gonna think since you're from a country that is not developed, you're gonna have less education, and you're gonna when you come here, they're gonna think they're gonna teach you more than what you actually learn. But when you learn more than what they have,
Awesome. Yep, last question. So, for our last question, is there a specific voice in your head that critiques how you represent race? And whose voice is that?
Say it again.
Yeah, I'm gonna say like first of all, she asks, is there a specific voice in your head that critiques the way you represent race?
Yep.
And for me, I'm gonna say there's not one voice. There are many voices. Like sometimes I'm saying stuff and I'm thinking, like I'm trying to tap into my inner Martin Luther King, or I'm saying stuff. I'm like, maybe I need to be a bit more peace driven. I'm thinking, okay, I gotta be more grassroots. I gotta be on the ground like Harriet Tubman. I gotta be. I'm just thinking. Sometimes I feel very engaged with history, and then sometimes I'm just like, okay, what would Obama say? So, you know. There's many voices inform who I am. Sometimes I'm just thinking of ways to make Prince and these kids laugh. That's what I do. So it's just about, I guess, the moment. It's not really one voice. I don't think any person listens to any one voice as a way to inform who they are, the way they see things. I think it's a marriage of voices, an accumulation of voices that we use to decipher which one is best for which situation, and we use that against the lens that is the public. So, how would the public see me if I say this thing?
For me, it's the voice of our fathers centuries ago that went through slavery, hardship. They went through slavery, hardship, just because of how they were perceived to be. So it's like many people's in my head.
Um, I I don't want to be rude, but I heard you using the N word before. Did you hear Ancestor's voice back then?
What?
I heard you saying the very bad word N word. And did you hear their voices back then? I only have one voice in my head that tells me to do stuff, and I do it. The voice is Tajay. That's the only man I listen to. I won't be a hypocrite. But for you to say those ancestors told you what to do, did they tell you to use that word? Did they tell you to use that word?
That's not what I'm trying to say. The question is, do you hear voices that represent the way you are to people?
Touch. It doesn't have to be a practical voice. It could be you read something that someone said, a piece of literature, and it resonates with you, and that informs. Huh? Yeah, like I thought. It doesn't have to be them, like you seeing them in your dreams saying, "You shall go to school tomorrow," and you know what I mean, bro. Like it could be.
Ignored them.
So basically, he had a thought of his ancestor telling him to say the N word.
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
Guys.
Okay.
It doesn't have, let's move away from the N word, but the voice doesn't have to be a practical voice. It could be you read something like for me. Obviously, I've never met Martin Luther King or Harriet Tubman, but I watched the Harriet Tubman movie. I read the Martin Luther King. I read some words from him. So obviously, I've never spoken to them in real life, but sometimes at different times, those words resonate with you, and you can use the courage or the motivation you get from those words to inform and let your words resonate with other people. It doesn't have to be a practical conversation. It could be a conversation through literature, conversation through sound, through significance. Has there been anything either historic or racial that you think has informed or kind of been a foundation for you as an individual? Kind of it informs who you are. It helps you to give meaning to stuff maybe on a day-to-day basis. It doesn't have to be speech direct. It does not have to be appearing to you in a dream, but something that resonated with you so deeply that you felt that could actually impact or leave an imprint on your life.
If we didn't like, if we didn't go through all this hardship we went through back then, we could have like a different, outcome of life for black people in general.
See, I don't know if I agree with that because black people actually enslaved black people before white people enslaved black people. So I don't know if I agree with that. But that's a good thing, I guess, for you to think. Anyone else?
What if you say you still your brothers?
Okay.
Made me forget. Like, that answer made me forget my answer.
Repeat the question.
What about presidents?
Presidents?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, that's a good one.
presidents in your country are like prime ministers, you know? Like
Yeah.
they have like an impact on what's gonna go on in your country, you know what I mean? So like us black people are like other races, like what would it think is going on in our country? Like for instance, what happened over there near Brazil, you know what I mean?
Venezuela?
Venezuela. I lost the names. I lost the name. So like those things like we seen like and like Venezuela's like right there near to our border, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's not technically like
It is close. Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
yeah, but like just by us seeing that like sorry situation going on like as presidents fighting over like I don't know our countries is like it's gonna base on like what we're gonna think going on, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Thank you.
I agree. Political leaders do have a very big say in. They inform who we are a lot. Because yeah. Okay. Well, guys.
Wait, let me say something. Me, like, it's not a specific person, but it's like any knowledge I gain of a contribution like a black person made to society. Like, I don't know how to say it. Like, let's say like let's say someone tries to argue
Mhm.
about black people. I could bring up like, oh, we invented a gear in the car, like the gear shift.
Okay.
Like it gives me like I don't know how to explain it.
I guess pride.
Yeah.
You know what, guys? We don't have to finish this conversation now. We can gather our thoughts and come back at the end of the month for us to really dissect what we have learned and how these questions could mean different stuff to us. I'm going to hand over to Tanya so we can wrap up and head out.
Yep. All right. Thank you everyone for coming, and thank you for listening to our podcast. I said that. Hold on. Let me retry that. Thank you for listening to our podcast, The 180. We hope you have a wonderful day, and goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
The 180. Seek the challenge, be the change.